Get to my right page here. Yeah. So, yeah. A little bit of forward curve in the back, and then as you bend your knees, give yourself enough height so your knees are below your hips. So even if you sit cross-legged, just go higher if your knees are up like that above your hips. So today's sutra is about Santosha, and what it says is when at peace and content with oneself and others, that's what Santosha is. Supreme joy is celebrated. And it's talking about not like I just went to Disney World, supreme joy, just talking about noticing the contentment in ordinary moments in life. So content with an ordinary life, you can show all people the way back to their own inner nature, their own contentment. So the idea is that when we have that inner state of contentment, it's a contagion for everyone around us. So I love that idea. And so that's where we're focused today, in forward bends and contentment. So as you sit in this seat, the reason I asked it to make sure your knees were a little lower is our backs and hips get a little creaky. They're not so content when they're up like that. So take your hands in your thighs, give yourself a little sense of grounding in your legs. And then let your torso just naturally, just notice if you have a tendency to lean forward, just to lean into the back body a little bit. And relax your hands on your legs, palms up. Let your eyes softly close. And begin this exploration of contentment with your breath. And simply observe the rise and fall of your breath as you breathe in and as you breathe out. As you tend to the breath, let your inner gaze rest in the heart center. And as you observe the feeling of breath, breathing in and breathing out, awareness in the heart center. Just imagine that breath is entering and leaving your body through this space. So that as you breathe in, you feel that sense of opening, expansion in the heart. As you breathe out, just a sense of softening in the heart, the whole body. And take a moment to recall a place that evokes a feeling of contentment in you. It doesn't have to be, again, a big vacation kind of place. It can be a simple place where, every time I go there, I just feel a sense of peace, a sense of contentment. Bring yourself there now as you focus on breath flowing in and out of your body through the heart center. Notice from the space of observer, just noticing the inner state of contentment rising as you hold awareness on your breath, your heart, and being in a place that helps you feel a little more at ease. As you come into your practice today, just come in with an intention to be open and to the feeling of contentment rising in you as you practice. That means allowing yourself the ability to adjust anyway, subtly or more overtly, into poses and practices that feel good to you. And then gently open your eyes and come on to all fours, setting your blankets out of the way, your blocks at the top of your mat. I've moved the top of my mat over here. And take your hands to the top of your mat, wider than your shoulders, so that your pinky fingers are right on the edge of your mat. Your knees are beneath your hips. And take a moment here with your breath to come into a few cat-cow. Start with your tailbone. On your in-breath, lift the tailbone. Feel your whole spine kind of roll until your chest lifts. Your head's just happy neutral. And then as you exhale from the tailbone, round the spine until the back is hunched and the head drops. Move intentionally with your breath. Follow your breath. Not so much me, just follow your breath. Let your body follow your breath. And as you start to wake the body up in this way, just notice, where do I feel any tension in the body? Just notice. Don't worry about changing it now. Just notice. Do one more cat and then one more cow. And then land in a tabletop position. And take your knees wider than your hips now, big toes touch. Take your hips back into child pose. And press the palms, lift your armpits up. And notice when you straighten the elbows all the way. When you straighten the elbows, press the palms, take your hips a little more back. And then let your head line up so your ears are in line with your arms. Pressing the hands down, scoop the tailbone towards your heels a little and feel that stretch in your low back, and then let your forearms rest. So tailbone towards the heels, just bring your awareness into your low back. Notice what you notice when you tuck the tailbone a little more towards your heels. And then bring your right hand by your right knee. Take your left hand across your body to the right. Pressing the heel of that left hand down, reach that left hip left. And notice, again, the low back, the outer hip. Just find your breath and observe. Inhale your head up, take the left hand to the left knee, right hand across your body to the left. Press that right hand down, reach the right hip to the right. Tailbone still scooping towards your heels. Find your breath. Feel into your back body here. Good. Inhale your head up. Walk both hands straight again. Come on up to all fours. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, and come into downward facing dog. And feel the whole handprint, especially your knuckle pads press. And then alternately bend one knee and then the other, just kind of waking up your body here. Look at your legs. Spin your heels slightly out. Line your knees up in the same direction as your big toes, and then reach the hips further back. Feel the whole spine lengthen on the in-breath. And feel your heels reaching back, but also the top of your thighs reaching back as you exhale your breath. And take another in-breath here. Another exhalation. And then inhale, gaze forward and walk your feet towards your hands on the out-breath. Take your toes slightly in, heels slightly out. Hold the elbows and let your torso drape down. And as you come into this first forward fold, just feel into the back of your legs. So notice if you feel tightening in the hip bone, or the sit bones rather, just bend your knees a little. If you feel it in the back of the knees, also bend your knees a little. Look for the middle and the back of the thighs. And then hug your thigh muscles snug. Take your hands to your hips. Coil the elbows back as you come up from the hips. Inhale the arms overhead. Clasp your fingers. Take your index fingers straight up. Press into the heels. As you exhale your breath, take your arm bones back and take your thighs back. And then exhale, release your hands by your side. And just notice here the alignment. Feel in your body. Just feel, notice, can you tell, are your hips over your ankles? So it feels like your big toes are pressing. See if you can take the hips back. So the hip, knee, ankle all line up. So the toes are light. Inhale, take the arms up, palms facing, thumbs back now. Exhale, take the arm bones a little more back. Take the legs back as well. Feel into the back of your body. And then exhale, fold forward, bring your hands onto the blocks. Fold all the way in. Let your elbows bend. Let your head hang down. And then inhale, come into a flat back here. So in the flat back position, wrists are under your shoulders, lengthen your spine a little more, keeping your forehead parallel to the floor. Inhale, find as much length as you can in your spine. As you exhale, take the top of your thigh bone back more. Top of the thighs back more. And then exhale, fold all the way in. And take your hands to the hips, coil the elbows back. Inhale, come all the way up. Clasp your fingers again, index fingers up. Feel the heels press. Exhale, come over to the right, coming into crescent pose. And feeling the left heel press, the left side of the body stretch. Inhale, come up, and exhale, go left. Right heel presses. Feel breath here in the side body. Inhale, come up, and then exhale, release the arms. Good. Take one block now right in front and take the other block between your legs. So you're hugging the block right up to the top of the thighs. And then look at your feet. So, toes in a little, heels out a little. Yeah. And take your index fingers to the front of your hip bones. So hug the block and then spin it behind you. So you feel your thighs go back and you feel your booty stick out a little bit. And then bring the heel of your hand right to the hip crease, fingers down, and press the thigh bones back as you come forward. And take your hands onto the block in front of you. And then inhale, come into that flat back position again. So hug into the thighs, spin the block back. Notice again the back of the thigh feeling, and then fold from the hip crease, fold all the way in. Let your elbows soften, let your head hang down. Again, notice, can you tell, are your hips over your ankles? So one key that they're a little bit forward is that your toes press. So see if you can take your weight back on the foot a little bit. So your hips are right over your ankles. Hug the block, spin it back. Notice the back of your thighs. Find your breath. Good, then relax the hands from that one block. Take the other block out of the way. And bring your hands down to the floor and step your feet back into a high plank pose. Not quite plank yet, so fingers are as wide as your mat. Your hips are a little above your shoulders. And then look with your forehead parallel to the floor between your hands. Start to shift your weight a little forward so your shoulders now are over the wrist. And then start to lower your hips, but take your tailbone towards your heels. Tailbone towards the heels. So your low belly is engaged. You should feel as soon as you take the tailbone towards your heels, your low belly just does that. It just engages. So notice that. Find your breath as you hold. Good. And then drop to the knees, go wide and press back into child pose. Again, tailbone towards the heels here. Let the forearms rest. Find your breath deep in your low belly. As if you're inviting breath in the space between your hip bones, and it's just helping that space expand. And then inhale, come back up to all fours. Take your knees under your hips. Take that block again and put it between your legs. So you got in the same spot. Take your hands under your shoulders. Hug the block again. Extend the spine long. So first, feel the crown of your head reaching forward, the arm bones drawing towards your leg bones, the tailbone slightly towards your knees, so your low belly is engaged. Feel all that and really hug into the block. And then keeping all that, tuck your toes, lift your hips, and come into downward facing dog.
And pressing the whole handprint, especially the knuckle pads down. So you feel that length in the spine, the arms on the in-breath. And then as you exhale, rock way back on the heels so your toes get light. Hug the block a lot. Take the tailbone towards the block. Feel your low belly engage. Feel into the back of your body. Especially the back of your sacrum, the back of your hips, the back of your legs. So if you need to make a micro adjustment by bending the knees a little, again, honor your inner body's contentment. Good. Now take your hands halfway back towards your legs. And see if you can keep your hands down and your heels down. If that means you need to bend your knees, bend your knees. And then same thing, hug into the block, root the heels down, move the top of the thighs back, all that, and feel, find your breath. Feel into the back of your body. Good. Walk your hands back more. And crisscross your forearms. Hold the outer shins. So shins go in, hug into the block, but spin it back and wide behind you. And again, feel especially into the back of your body, the back of your legs, the back of your hips. Let your head be happy, relaxed. Good. Exhale, take your hands to your hips, hug into the block a lot from your hips. Take the elbows back and come up. Inhale your arms overhead. Hook your thumbs here. So press the heels down. Hook the thumbs, reach the fingers up. Spin the block back and take the arm bones back. Move your front body back. Really feel aware of the back of your body. Good. And then relax the hands back down. Take that block out of there, put both blocks at the top of your mat, and again, come forward to the top of your mat. Line your feet up parallel to the short edges, hands in the front of your thighs now, thumbs inward, like that. Yep. So I mean, again, toes in a little. I like that I can see you, give me that feedback. So hands like this, with your hands, just do that action that you were doing with the block. So hug in, thigh muscle to thigh bone, and roll the upper inner thighs back and wide. And then with your hands there, fold in again. Yeah, just roll the thighs in, release the hands down to the outer shins now. Press the shins in, spin the upper inner thighs back and wide. Let your head point straight down. Good, then release your hands to the floor. Take your right leg back and come into a left knee lunge. Use your blocks if that helps. Give yourself plenty of room. So lift that right inner thigh a little more to the ceiling. Lift the hip up at first. And then take the tailbone towards your back heel to facilitate a little more length in your spine. From the tailbone through the crown of your head, take a breath, feel that length. Good, and then take the left foot back, come into a plank. And take the tailbone towards your heels. Feel your low belly automatically engage when you do. And then from your toes, your knees come forward, lower and hover just off the floor. Come all the way down. Press the toenail side of your foot to the floor, hands at mid-chest level. Press the tops of the feet, hug your thighs snug. In this position, take the tailbone towards the ceiling. Inhale, come into cobra. So hands press, feet press, tailbone lifts. Neck just stays happy neutral. Good, and then exhale, come down. Tuck your toes, come back up into table pose. Get the spine long first. And then come into downward facing dog. Find length on the in-breath. Move way back, top thighs, heels way back on the out-breath. Good. Inhale your gaze forward. Take the right foot forward. Take both hands on the inside of that right foot. Again, use your blocks. That gives you more room. So right foot is forward. Move it a little bit to the right. Your hands on the inside of the foot. And then reach your tailbone towards the left heel. Right knee hugs towards the right shoulder. Inhale, feel length from the left heel through the crown of your head. Keep the left inner thigh lifting up. Find your breath here. Good. And then exhale, step your left foot forward. And fold in again. Hands in the outer shins. Press the shins in. Imagine you have a block there between your legs. You're hugging in and spinning back and wide. Good. Exhale, hands to hips. Coil the elbows back. Inhale, come all the way up. And then exhale, take your hands to your heart. Find your breath here. Simply observe one in breath and one out breath. Just noticing when my mind is on my breath, when my body follows my breath, how does that impact a feeling of contentment within me? Good. Release the hands. Inhale the arms up. Palms facing. Take the arm bones back, the heart way up. Exhale. Release your hands to the front of the thighs again. Thumbs in. Spin the thighs back and wide. Press the hands to take the thighs back. Fold over your hip crease. And slide your hands down to the outer shins. Press the shins in, upper inner thighs back and wide. Good. Release the hands to the floor. Take that left foot back. Coming into a lunge. Again, use your blocks if that gives you more lift, more length. Take the inner left thigh to the ceiling and then take the tailbone towards the back heel. Inhale, lengthen the crown of your head forward. And find your breath. Step your right foot back. Come into plank pose, tailbone towards your heels. Feel your knuckle pads, your finger pads firmly press. And from your toes, your knees come a little forward. And then exhale, lower down and hover. And then come all the way down. Take your forehead down. Take your hands off your mat with your fingertips to the floor, your elbows to the ceiling. Press the toenails of your foot down. Thighs snug, tailbone lifts. Inhale, come into cobra. And then as you exhale, turn to look over your right shoulder. Let your left shoulder and elbow come forward. Inhale, come back to the center. And exhale, go to the other side. So right shoulder forward as you look left. Inhale, come back to the center. Tailbone is lifted here. And then one vertebra at a time, slowly lower down. Take your hands back to the side of your chest. Tuck your toes, come back into table. So shoulders are over your wrists. Take your thighs back, your arm bones back, crown of the head forward. And then come into downward facing dog. And find the length on the in-breath from the heel of your hand all the way to the back of your hips. Find the reaching back on the out-breath. Top of the thighs, reach back. Inner thighs spin back and wide. Toes get light. Inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, take your left foot forward. Take both hands on the inside of that left leg. So move the left leg left. Again, use your blocks. Give yourself plenty of room. Take the right inner thigh up. And then take the tailbone towards your back heel, crown of the head forward. Find your breath. Take that left hand left again. Take your right foot forward. Line your feet up parallel. Bend your knees on purpose. So feet are parallel, knees are bent. And then clasp your hands like that. And put them behind your head. So that your index finger knuckles are right on the notch, the occipital notch on the back of your head. And then let the elbows just drop downward. You're not pulling. The hands are just resting there and the elbows drop down. Press into your heels and then hug your thigh muscles snug. Just straighten your legs a little more. So your chin just naturally goes towards your chest. And it's just the weight of your hands. You're not pulling. Drawing the head a little downward. And feel into the whole back body from your heels to the back of your head. Good, then release your hands back to your hips. Take the elbows back. Take your time. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Again, find your breath. Notice breath, body. Notice the inner feeling, maybe of contentment here. Good, release your hands. Take your strap now. And then fold it in half and put it under your feet. So you're standing on the strap with the ball of your feet. Your feet are still parallel. Walk your hands down. Let your knees bend a little bit here. So you're just loosely holding the strap. So when you press the ball or your foot into the strap and start to straighten your knees, let your hands slide up until you're straight and you feel your shoulders drawing down from the ears, the heart lifting up. And find your breath here. So as you inhale, feel your spine lengthening. As you exhale, feel the feet pressing, but also a little traction on your shoulders. Shoulders dropping from your ears. And follow the flow of the in-breath and the out-breath. Yeah, good. And then from your hip crease, start to come forward. Walk your hands partway down the strap. And holding the strap, come into a little flat back here. Yeah, so take the thighs back. And then take the elbows out to the side, and from the hip crease, come a little more forward. Walk your hands a little more down the strap. And with your hands as low as they'll go, with your low back happy, come into a little flat back here. And then elbows to the side, fold all the way in. And keep a little pull in the strap with your hands and let the elbows roll forward. Keep the thigh bones moving back. That's it. Let your head just be happy neutral here. Good, and then to come up, release the strap. Take your hands to your hips. Take the elbows back and come all the way up. And just stand with your hands by your side, your thighs back, your heart up. Good, then take your strap out of the way. And take your blocks now on your mat, just at the sides of your feet. Take your hands onto your hips. Step your right foot back. So your right heel goes towards the back edge of your mat. And then with your index fingers on your hip bones, turn your hips forward. If the right hip is lagging, if it doesn't want to turn forward, just take that right foot a little more right. And press into the right heel, turn the hips, take the elbows back. And then with your hands on the front of the thighs again, so thumbs in, facilitate the right thigh turning in, the left thigh moving back and come partway forward. So left hand, top of the left thigh, really press the top of the left thigh back, and then lightly take your hands onto your blocks. Press into the right heel, crown of the head forward. Really invite that right hip to roll forward, left thigh bone to move back. So you feel like the hips are turning towards the front. And then as you find your breath here, feel the whole spine lengthen. And come into awareness of the whole back body. So back of the legs, probably the back of that left thigh, maybe the outer left hip. Just notice and see, can I press the left heel a little more to take the left top thigh a little more back? And press the right heel a little more and take the right hip a little more forward. Take a breath in, feel length. And then from your hip crease, as you exhale, let the elbows fold, let your head drop. And follow the flow of the in-breath and the out-breath. Inhale, come back into a flat back. And then as you exhale, step your right foot forward. Make your feet parallel. Fingers on the front of the block. Press the hands into the block. Come into a little flat back here. And as you exhale, elbows to the side, fold all the way in. Take the hands to the hips from the hip crease, come up. Take the left foot back now. Index fingers in the front of the hip bones. Press that left heel down and let mom back in here. And so the hips are forward, the back heel pressing. And then with your hands on the index fingers, just coil the elbows back. Index fingers, on the hip bones, coil the elbows back. Inhale, lift the heart up. And as you exhale, fold from the hip crease. And so again, right hip, reach it way back. Let the left hip roll forward, hands on your blocks. Press into both heels. Inhale, feel that length in your spine. So notice the more you press into the heels, the more you feel the right thigh moving back, left hip moving forward, and then let the elbows soften and fold all the way in. So really observing the feeling in the back body. The more you press the heels, the more the right hip goes back, left hip goes forward. And feeling breath and body connection. Again, making any subtle changes at all. It will help you feel a little more contentment in this pose. Inhale, come back into a flat back. Exhale, step that left foot forward. Feet parallel. Heels pressing down, spine going long. Exhale, fold in, elbows back, folding from the hip crease. Take your hands to your hips, elbows back. Take your time. Inhale, come all the way up. Take your palms to press, thumbs back. Take the arm bones back. Inhale. And feel the upward flow from the place between your feet all the way up to your fingers. Exhale, arm bones back, thigh bones back. Move into the back body. Take one more in breath here. And then as you exhale, release. Good. Stand this way on your mat now. So place your blocks both in front. And then come on with your hands and your hips. If you go like this, look down and see that your ankles are below your wrists. And then take your hands to your hips. Spin your heels slightly out. Toes slightly in. Lift your toes, stretch them. Get the little toes out of your foot to press. Take your hands in the front of your thighs and again, press the thighs back, thumbs inward, spin the upper inner thighs back and start to come forward with your hands pressing the thighs back. Good, and then take your hands onto the blocks. Inhale, little flat back here. Heels press, top of the thighs back. Exhale, fold all the way in. Let your elbows soften, let your head just drop down. Find your breath, find your back body here. Good. Inhale, come back into a little flat back. Wrists over under your shoulders. Spine long. Exhale, hands to hips. Come all the way up. Spin whatever foot is closer to me towards your camera so you can see. Yeah, so one foot goes out 90 degrees. Take the back heel out just a little. Take your hands onto your hips and turn your hips towards your front leg. Go ahead and bend that front knee and take your arm on the inside of the leg. Top hand stays on the hip. So with the top hand on the hip, notice if it wants to go back and then the opposite hip stick out. So top hand on the hip, press the heel and turn that back hip forward. And same thing on the front thighs when we were standing. Invite the thigh bone back behind you, but also towards the other foot. Yep. So, and then move into the back body here. As you exhale your breath, tailbone towards the back heel, let that front thigh bone drop a little more. And then coil the heart up. And inhale, take that arm long by your ear. And so take the tailbone towards your back foot as much as you can. And with your arm, just invite that thigh bone to go a little more back. So the alignment from your hip to your outer knee to your ankle is all one straight line. And find your breath here. Press into the back heel a whole bunch. Take the top hand up. Keep your legs just like they are. And come on up into warrior two. Gazing over the front fingers, move into your back body. So shoulders go back. That front leg, thigh bone goes back. Spin the palms up, straighten your front leg as you inhale. Bring the arms overhead, hook the thumbs, reach up, spin both feet straight ahead. Good. Exhale. Bring your hands back in the front of the thighs again. Once again, thumbs in, thighs back, spine long. Fold inward. Take your hands on the blocks. And this time, move your blocks back in line with your feet, probably in the lower position. So your fingers are in line with your toes. From there, come into a little flat back. Take the thighs back. As you exhale, fold from the hip crease. Elbows go back. Head goes down. Now take your tailbone towards your heels slightly. Find your breath in your low belly. Feel into your back body here. Inhale, little flat back. Exhale, hands to your hips. Take your time coming up. Now spin the other foot out. It's 90 degrees. And take the heel that's not the back leg slightly out. With your hands and your hips, turn your hips towards the front leg. Bend your knee. Take your forearm on the inner thigh. So this top hand, really turn that hip in. The back hip, just move the tailbone towards the heel. In fact, you can kind of glance behind you. See that the hip does not stick out. Rather, it tucks the tailbone towards the back heel. So the outer hip to the outer knee is a straight line. Inhale, find that length in your spine. Exhale, coil the heart up. Take the top hand long by your ear. Find your breath here in Parsva Konasana, side angle. Lengthening on the in-breath, really feeling the heels ground, the top thigh bone dropping, but also reaching back. So the tailbone reaches back, the thigh bone reaches back. Move into the back body a little more. Press into the back heel a lot. Take the top hand up. Keep your legs just as they are as you come up into warrior two. Gazing over the front fingers, moving into the back body here. So the shoulders go back. And find your breath here. Spin the palms up. Inhale, straighten the front leg as you come up. Clasp your fingers here. Spin both toes, feet rather parallel to the short edges of your mat. And then inhale here, find lift. Good. Exhale, release the hands down. Once again, hands in the front of your thighs. Take the thighs back. This time, let your hands slide down the outer legs. Slide down the outer legs. So, Eileen, take your toes in, heels out again. Yep. And let them come all the way down, either to the outer calves or ankles. Or if you have the reach, take 2 fingers under your big toes, thumbs forward. Inhale, wherever you are, find a little flat back. Press the little toe side of your feet down, hug your thighs snug, and spin your upper inner thighs back, back, back. Exhale, elbows to the side, crown of the head down. So you're not pulling, pushing, or forcing. You're finding your place of contentment in this pose. Find your breath. Let your awareness follow your breath. Feel into your body. On the exhale, take your hands to your hips, press your heels a lot, take the elbows back, and come all the way up. Ooh, step your feet in, give your legs a little shake. Good, and then take a blanket and a strap and come onto your blanket.
And if your low back is tight, take 2. So you want to be able to sit so that when you sit on the edge of your blanket, I'll go sideways to show. You want to sit right on the edge, take the flesh of the buttocks out of the way. You want to be able to sit so that you can rock forward on the sitting bones, and your low back should naturally come in a little. So if it doesn't on one blanket, take 2. Take your strap across the balls of both feet, and then sit upright with your shoulders over your hips. And so look at your knees here. Press the heels down. Hug your thighs snug and point your knees straight up towards the ceiling. So if they tend to knock in, roll the thighs slightly out. Press the ball mound of your big toe, especially into the strap. And the in-breath, just feel your whole spine lift. On the out-breath, draw the shoulders down from the ears. Yep, and feel, again, you're sitting forward in the sitting bones, so you feel your sacrum come forward a little bit. From that space, from your hip crease, your sacrum, like you're one piece, just move forward slightly from your hips and take your hands wherever they land on your strap. So your elbows are still straight. So you're leaning slightly forward. Inhale, feel that upward lift in your spine. Exhale, feel the heels, the whole thigh bone press downward. So the inner thighs press down towards the floor. And take an in-breath here. Now from your hip crease, go as far forward as you can, wherever that might be, but make the action move from your hips. And then let your elbows rest, your head rest. Find your breath here. If you can reach the feet, you can hold the feet. It's not where you need to go. It's just go where you naturally go, keeping your legs straight. And as you find your breath, just feel the effect of the in-breath and the effect of the out-breath. And certainly if keeping your legs straight causes you any discontentment, then modify. You can bend your knees here. Just follow the flow of the in-breath, the flow of the out-breath. Notice if you press your heels down, engage your thighs a little more. Just notice what effect that has in the back of your legs, your low back. And then inhale, slowly come on up. And take your strap off to the side. And have a block nearby come off of your blanket. And come onto your back with your knees bent. Take your strap between your legs. And walk your feet in so your ankles are under your knees. Let your hands just rest by your side. Drop your chin. And pressing your heels down, hug into the block and take your tailbone towards the ceiling. Notice your sacrum, the low back part of your body. And then go the other way as you inhale your breath. Take the tailbone towards the floor. Keep hugging the block, but notice your low back then lifts. And then hug into the block. Take the tailbone towards the ceiling. Feel the whole low back pressed to the floor. So it's like a reclined cat-cow, but you're hugging the block. And then try that again. One more time, tailbone to the floor, low back lifts on the in-breath. Press the heels, hug the block. Tailbone towards the ceiling on the out-breath. Good. Come into a kind of a table shape in your low back. Let it be neutral. Lift your feet off the floor now. Move the block away from your belly enough so you can hold it, but it's not pressing your belly. Take your hands on the top of your knees. Press your hands into your knees so you feel like your hands are pressing the back of your sacrum into the floor. Hug the block in that position.
Now take your tailbone slightly towards the ceiling. Notice the effect of that. Good. Release your feet to the floor. Take the block out of the way. Take your feet now as wide as your mat and take your hands out straight from the shoulders. So feet are as wide as the mat, hands out in the shoulders. And then roll the knees to your right, coming onto the little toe side of your right foot. Let the left hip lift. And from the left hip bone, turn towards the right as much as you can. And then from the left rib, turn to the left as much as you can. So you turn your head even towards that left hand, turn the left ear towards the floor. Feel the effect of that left hip bone turning right. So let the hips go all the way to the right. But then the left rib cage turning left. Just feel into that subtle twist in your mid-thoracic part of your back. Find your breath deep in your diaphragm between your hip bones. Feel that in-breath. And on the out-breath, feel your whole body relax. And take a couple of breaths here. Inhale, bring your legs back up. Keeping them, again, feet still wide apart. And then take your legs to the left. So feel the right hip bone turning all the way to the left as much as it will. The right hip absolutely lifts. And press the sides of your feet to the floor and see if you can turn that right hip bone a little more left. And then turn the right ribs to the right. And turn your head towards the right hand. Back teeth apart. And drop the right ear towards the floor. And find your breath here deep in your low belly. And as you exhale your breath, just notice again, especially the energy, the feeling around that right hip. Good, then inhale the knees back up. Walk your feet in now, just hip distance apart. Rock a little on the back of your sacrum until you find sort of happy neutral there. Feet are flat. Back of the sacrum pressing. Now take your hands behind your head and cradle the back of your head so your thumbs are right on the occipital lobe. Take your back teeth apart. Drop your chin towards your chest. Point your elbows towards the ceiling. And on the in-breath, lift up. Holding here as you exhale your breath, let the full weight of your head drop into your hands. You're not pulling or pushing. You're letting the weight of the head just drop into your hands. Find your breath here. Feel that C shape in your upper cervical spine. And then gently lower your head back down to the floor. Keep your gaze towards the heart, your chin tucked slightly in. Take your arms out like a cactus, chin dropped out, gaze towards the heart. And then rocking on the back of your skull, just rocking a little bit. Rock to the right. So feel the back of the skull the entire time as you turn your head to the right. So you're aware that your spine is staying in this neutral alignment. And keep going to the right until your right ear touches the floor or goes as close as it's going to go. You should feel that, again, the back of the skull just above the ear pressing the floor. The left shoulder now pressed to the floor. Your teeth are apart. Your gaze now is towards your right elbow. Find your breath here.
Notice the subtle difference. If you tuck your chin a little more towards the right shoulder, or if you lift it away, find your happy spot there. Back teeth absolutely apart. Back of the tongue away from the roof of the mouth, and just let it soften down. Find your breath here. Notice what happens as you notice your breath. And as you just kind of let it do its magic in your body. Maybe softening a little more with each exhale. And then very slowly and gently rock on the back of your head to come back into a neutral position. And find center, right? Center alignment, top of the head, tailbone in alignment. And then from there, start to rock on the skull towards your left until your left ear comes to the floor or goes as close as it's going to. Let your gaze drop towards the left elbow and press the right shoulder into the floor. Find your breath here. Again, observe the outer layers of your body as you breathe. And then moving slowly, gently, just rock on the back of your skull to your head, comes back into a neutral position. And dropping the chin once again towards your chest. And taking a blanket under your head if you like that for Shavasana. But do take that position of your jaw soft and open, chin towards the chest. Relaxing your arms by your sides with the palms up. And then extending your legs one at a time so your heels are apart, toes are off to the side. Let your eyes softly close. Let your gaze drop towards the heart center. Feel your whole body as you breathe in. And as you breathe out. Notice with each in-breath, just an opening, the whole body receiving the in-breath. The out-breath, the whole body softening in, releasing a little more deeply on the out-breath. Holding your awareness on breathing in, opening, breathing out, releasing. And simply observing what happens. And you hold your awareness on the breath. And you open on the in-breath. And release on the out-breath. You have more time, just stay here as long as you like. Just observing. Opening and letting go. You need to come out, start to notice the sensations in your body, and touch of air on your skin, the sensations inside your mouth, the center of your palms, and the soles of your feet. And gently bring one hand to rest in your heart, one hand to rest in your belly. And slowly bend one knee up and then the other. And roll to your side, resting for a couple of breaths. Use your hands pressing down as you come on up to a seat. Pausing to feel that kind of centered feeling in your body, awareness of your breath, bringing the hands up, just noticing Santosha, the feeling of inner peace and contentment. Whether you're in touch with that feeling or not, just as you bring your hands to Anjali, maybe setting an intention, just use awareness to notice your inner state, to invite in Santosha as often as you can remember to do so. Namaste. Thanks, guys, for being here.